call our meeting to order. If you'd stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for invocation by Ron Lasson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Father God, we come before you and praise your holy name. We praise you for all the blessings you shower upon each of us here as well as the town. And Father, we ask you for tonight for wisdom as we go about the town's business, that we would make decisions that are glorifying to you and are the right ones for the members of our community. And Father, we lift up our first responders. We ask for their safety as they go about their duties, preserving life and keeping us all safe. And we also ask for you to look over our construction workers as they're rebuilding our town and doing dangerous tasks. We pray for their safety and their comfort. And Father, we just thank you in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Crowder.
Here.
Councilmember Culleton.
Present.
Councilmember Lasson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Tryon. Here. And Mayor Boland.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have an introduction to the new CAL FIRE Division Chief, Garrett Needles.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. So rumors are true. I took a promotion to the Deputy Chief of Operations here in the Butte unit. And so Chief Garrett Needles, who was our AO Chief in Orville, in charge of our hiring, firing, and all that fun stuff, decided that he would like to come up and take on the role up in Paradise. So he'll be coming over to take on all those duties, overseeing the contract and the administrative side for Town of Paradise Fire Department. Cool. Within his promotion, Chief Manson took his job, so he also left and has promoted to an assistant chief in charge of administrative. John Gaddy, who was a battalion chief in our command center, accepted a transfer up to the Town of Paradise, so he'll be taking over the operations side behind Chief Manson. Cool. So just wanted to give you a quick introduction, and they'll be attending the meetings and be able to answer any questions and still be around, but we appreciate your guys' support for the public service agencies in the town and everything that you guys have done for us.
Great. So. Well, thank you for what you've done. We appreciate all the work you've done for us, and anxious to get to know you. And we don't seem to hold them for very long. They seem to go pretty quick up here.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations to you, Chief.
Thank you.
Did he tell you, by the way, as he handed off the torch, that future contracts with CAL FIRE are all going to be reduced?
We'll work on that.
Supposed to be part of that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. All right. So I get to go through a year review. What a year. So I'm just going to go through a few stats. What happened? I thought I had two sheets here. There it is. Okay. All right. So far, as of December, we have 3,046 single-family home applications. 3,046. Certificate of occupancies, we have 2,180. Multifamily unit applications, 777. Good number. And C of O's on those, 436. That's a great number. I mean, that if we did, nobody would have thought that in 5 years. So we're very excited about that. Current population is almost at 10,000 by the end of this year, which puts us at 37% of pre-fire population. PG&E is continuing their undergrounding. I think we've seen that, right? A few times. Been stopped with that. Undergrounding, they have, PG&E has about 70% complete. Cabling, 48, water is 25, and telecommunications is 38% complete. Everything's on track to be done by 2025 at this point, the way it looks. The sewer connection between Paradise and Chico is in design phase, and construction is expected in 2025 through 2027. That's also exciting. Early warning sirens, we installed those this year. We've got 20 of the 21 in place. Rocky Lane is the only one that isn't in place yet. And you can tell by the name Rocky Lane why it is not in place yet. I have a little tough time drilling that one. Vice Mayor Rose Tryon, town staff, including town manager at the time, Kevin Phillips, Mark Maddox, Public Works Director, Colette Curtis, Recovery and Economic Developer, all went to DC to meet with lawmakers on behalf of the town of Paradise, which is still yielding results. So thank you guys for that. Good job. Downtown project was completed with the installation of sidewalks and curbs and gutters, as well as lighting and landscape. I was fortunate to be able to go to DC and speak to a subcommittee on federal lands and regarding the Paradise experience of the campfire. It was an honor to do that, and what a place. Cool to be there. Town of Paradise welcomes a new finance director, Amy, how do you say her last name? Bellew, that's what I thought.
Like the bear in the jungle.
Just want to make sure you knew. We're very happy to have you here. Thanks for being a part of the team. Paradise Police Department began to phase dispatch services back into the Paradise Police Department. The first call came soon after and was expertly handled by our team in dispatch. So that continues to grow, and that's exciting. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. What they got is incredible state-of-the-art stuff. We were able to welcome our new manager, Jim Goodwin, and we're very happy to have him here with us, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and work with you. Town of Paradise was awarded a significant grant from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection to support our removal of hazardous trees. That is going to happen. It's taken a while, but it is coming, and we were able to get grants this year to take care of that. I believe it was 25% that the property owners were going to have to do. Congressmember Lasan and I were able to participate in the 5-year anniversary press conference at the Capitol, and that was very cool. Great turnout, and it was a lot of fun. It's an honor to, I'm sorry. Oh, we had the 5-year celebration. And it wasn't really a celebration, it was more of a look back, but it was that type thing where people got to get together, and it was very cool to watch the different gatherings we had between the 4th of November and the 8th. And very well attended, and the ones I went to, people were really, really grateful for that. And you know, that's some of the stats. There's a whole bunch more that I could have read, but I just want to say there's more to it than just that. I so appreciate the spirit of this town, the pioneer spirit that people have to bring this town back. I appreciate this council and your guys' commitment to whatever it takes to bring this town back, to help with whatever meetings we need to do, whatever it takes to go, be there for the people of this town, be at events. We can't all be at all the events, but you guys represent the town very well, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And staff, thank you guys there's always a smile on your face, even when days aren't going good. And I know there's a lot of days that it's not going good. There's a lot of things that come up, but you guys are always excited about the future of this town. And thank you for that. People see that, we see that, and it means a lot. We just need to keep going forward. And, you know, it's been interesting and fun to look up after 5 years and see what we've done. If we thought back then in 5 years we'd be at this point, we'd think, you're crazy. There's no way. We've been blessed in many ways in this town. And this is quite a story. So thank you to everybody, and I look forward to a good year, and Merry Christmas to everybody here. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could be recognized, please.
yes.
I'd like to read this proclamation to you on behalf of the town. Whereas Greg Bowen has served as Community of Paradise, has served the community of Paradise as a Paradise Town Council member since December 11th of 2012, and as mayor 3 times in his tenure, most recently in 2023, and his knowledge of the history in the town of Paradise has been a valuable asset to his fellow council members. And whereas in May of 2023, Mayor Boland flew to Washington DC at the request of the Committee on Natural Resources to testify in front of the House Natural Resources Committee on Wildfires. And whereas during his service as mayor, Greg Boland attended groundbreaking ceremonies, ribbon cuttings, attended Johnny Appleseed Days, spoke to Paradise High's 40-year reunion, attended the media event at the state capitol to reflect on the campfire anniversary, provided leadership and guidance to Maui in the aftermath of our disaster, and interviewed with several news agencies and spoke at the commemorative event on November 8th for our 5-year anniversary of the campfire. And whereas Greg Boland was reelected to serve an additional term on the Butte Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO. And whereas Greg Boland participated in a meeting with FEMA, Cal OES, and the Office of Congressman Doug LaMoffa to help advance the federally sponsored recovery programs to their next phases. And whereas the Town Council of the Town of Paradise recognizes the valuable contribution to good government from elected officials who spend countless hours in the service of the town with limited compensation. And whereas Greg Boland has generously devoted his time and energy for the public good and has led the Town of Paradise and the Town Council as mayor with thoughtfulness and professionalism. Now therefore, I, Rose Tryon, Vice Mayor of the Town of Paradise, do hereby recognize and express appreciation and admiration to Greg Boland for his dedicated service to the Town of Paradise. In witness thereof, I have thereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Town of Paradise to be affixed hereto this 12th day of December, 2023.
All right, thank you so much, and again, everybody does so much around here, and I appreciate it more than you know. All right, we're gonna turn it over to our clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Boland. So I'm going to read my little spiel, and I ask that everybody please wait until I open the nominations before you say anything. Okay. The meeting is turned over to the town clerk to act as presiding officer for selection of mayor for a 1-year term. The town clerk opens the nominations for mayor. Any council member may nominate any other council member. No motion is necessary. The town clerk asks for a motion, a second, and a council vote to close the nominations for mayor. The town clerk takes a roll call vote on each council member nominated in the order of nomination. When one council member receives a majority, 3 affirmative votes, he or she will be deemed selected as the mayor for a 1-year term, and there will be no further vote on any subsequent nominees. The town clerk will then turn the meeting over to the new mayor as the presiding officer, and the same procedures will be adhered to. I will open the nominations for mayor.
I nominate Ron Lasson.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Rose Tryon.
Are there any other nominations? Do I have a motion to close the nominations?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the nominations? All right.
Aye.
All right, Ron Lasson was nominated first, so we'll do a roll call vote to see if he is selected as mayor. Councilmember Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Abstain?
And Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson, you are the mayor. Congratulations.
Rose.
I'm I'm going to ask the council and our residents for patience as I learn the role, having only been in this role for a year, so. No
Just jump right
patience?
in. You just do it
Okay.
perfect right from the start.
I'll do my best, that's all I can offer you, but I certainly appreciate all the help and candor from my fellow council members, as I simply will preside over the meeting, but by no means will I run the meeting. You guys are running the meetings, because you know all what's going on better than I do, and I appreciate you all. So with that, I guess I need to go to the next step. We have to have nominations for the vice mayor, so do I hear nominations, open nominations for the vice mayor?
Nominate Greg Boland.
Do I hear a second nomination for vice mayor?
I nominate Rose.
Hearing no other nominations, do I hear a motion to close the nominations for vice mayor?
Move the nomination be closed.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor to close the nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Roll call vote to nominate Greg Boland as the mayor, since he was nominated first.
As vice mayor?
Oh, vice mayor, I'm sorry, thank you. Councilmember Boland?
I'll abstain.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
Mr. Boland, you are the vice mayor.
And I can't designate you to run the meeting, right? Okay, I'll do my best. So we now have that. Let's move on to the campfire recovery updates. The written reports are included in the agenda, so for the first one, are there any questions for Colette Curtis on the Recovery and Economic Development Director? Hearing no questions, I'll move on to Mark Maddox and Public Works Director. Hearing no questions on that one, move on to Tony Lindsay, the CDD Building and Code Enforcement. And finally, Kate Anderson's report, Business and Housing Manager. Okay, no questions, move on to the consent calendar. Okay, one roll call vote is taken for all items. Consent items are considered in the routine business that does not need call for discussion. Is there any request to remove anything from the consent calendar?
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Culleton. Roll call vote for the consent calendar. Councilmember Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 3, no items were removed from the consent calendar, so we'll move on to public communication. Do we have any cards?
I do not have any cards on this item.
Move on to public hearings, items that require published legal notice and mail notice. First item is 5A. Concur with the project CEQA determination funding finding embodied within the Planning Commission resolution and so on for 5A.
Good evening, council. Oh, no, there should be a different one. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So tonight's public hearing is a general plan amendment and rezone request from the Ridge Lifeline Church. They used to be known as the First Assembly of God over at Elliott and Maxwell. So that First Assembly of God Church had been for many years, many decades, located over at Elliott and Maxwell, where their property was zoned community service. And in that zoning district, electronic changeable message signs are permitted. Post-fire, after their building was destroyed, they purchased the bowling alley and moved there. But it's zoned community commercial, so it's a zoning district that does not permit changeable message signs. The church had one at their old location, but was unable to bring it with them. There is a sign there already that has the capacity to do changeable messages, but they're limited to only time and temperature when you're outside of the CS or the CF zones. So on the top picture there, that's where they used to be on Elliott. And then down below, that's the existing sign that's at the bowling alley. So they can just display who they are, time and temp. And so this request really tonight is to reassign their zoning that they had at their previous location, that they'd had for decades, to their new site that they have, so that they can utilize that changeable message sign like they used to. And so there is an environmental determination in your packets that this project's exempt from environmental review. There's no construction being proposed. It's simply using that sign. There would be a request for a resolution that would change their general plan designation from town commercial to community service. We'd introduce an ordinance to rezone them from community commercial to community service, and then it would come back in January for a vote. And so this is very similar to the one we just did for PID, where they moved locations, but they couldn't take their zoning with them, so they lost some of their previous rights that they had. So I open it up to any questions that the council may have.
Any questions from the guys?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
I haven't seen the application or anything, but I'm curious, like with other electronic signs.
Yeah.
Like Parks and Rec at Terry Ash Park. It's used, that sign is used for other community organizations to promote or advertise things and all, different community events. And I realize this is a church, but I wondered if this sign would be available for that kind of use.
Well, I know that the commission at least asked them about the use of it for maybe emergency services, or if there's traffic issues, to help message that on that, and they were more than willing to engage
Would they be
with
permitted
us.
with this zone change from, say,
For community
yeah, if the
events?
Theater Ridge or if somebody wanted to, if
No,
they
there's-
were willing to, I mean.
Gotcha.
if they
There's not
want
a,
to.
there's not a code section that restricts that messaging
Okay.
for community
I'm
events,
just saying a
such.
revenue stream for.
Right. Oh, I'm with you.
And Caltrans is all good.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they approved the location of the sign when it went in.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to?
I think you have to open it up.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
For public.
Are there any cards on this, Dina?
I have no cards on this item.
Does anybody from the public wants to speak on this issue? Close the public comments.
I move approval.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Call for a vote.
So I'm just going to read this so that it's public. Concur with the project sequence determination finding embodied within Planning Commission Resolution 2023-4, and concur with project recommendation, general plan land use map amendment and rezone action adopted by the Planning Commission on November 21st, 2023, and embodied within Planning Commission Resolution number 2023, and adopt Town of Paradise Resolution number 2023-59, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise amending the land use map of the 1994 Paradise General Plan, and waive the first reading of Town Ordinance Number 631 and read by title only, and introduce Town of Paradise Ordinance Number 631, and ordinance rezoning certain real property from community commercial to community service zone pursuant to Paradise Municipal Code Section 17.45.500. Motion by Bolin, seconded by Culleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Hang on, before we do that, I just want to make sure, the motion, you agree with that, that's what your motion was?
Yes.
And you agree your second, that was what you
Let me think
seconded?
about it. Yes, I agree.
Perfect, now we're,
Thank you. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. Let's move on to council consideration, item 6 on our agenda. First item 6A, discuss and consider adopting resolution 2023-60. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise intending to adopt and amend and restate solid waste franchise agreement with increased service fees, a change in the service rate methodology, and adding new services to be compliant with State Bill 1383, the Organic Collection Bill, expressing the intent to adopt the amended and restated franchise agreement and the rate schedule and authorizing the town staff and WRS to prepare and mail a Proposition 218 notice to the satisfaction of the town attorney and all property owners and ratepayers relating to the following. There's a list of all the others, and I'm not going to talk to all of them.
Thank you, Mayor Lassonde. So as mentioned, this council consideration item is about the proposed amendments to the solid waste franchise agreement as well as a rate update. So this is really a follow-up meeting with the council from the July council meeting where the council gave direction to the solid waste committee to enter into discussions and negotiations with NRWS about some needed text amendments to the franchise agreement, potential updated rate schedules, as well as an extended term of the agreement. So this is what's being brought back as an update and for consideration to the council. So some of the purposes of this update agreement, as I just mentioned, some of the text in the agreement needed to be updated to be consistent with the myriad of state laws that have gone into effect since the last time we did amendments to it in 2017, most notably the organics collection. We also needed to actually add language about the organics collection program to be compliant. It's one of the items that's on our corrective action plan with CalRecycle for being out of compliance with. And then another was to update the rate schedule to reflect the actual current cost of providing the services post-fire. So first, we'll just briefly go over the categories of the text amendments. So again, this is a very, very high overview of those text amendments. It's spelled out longer in your staff report, and everything's in the clean copy proposal agreement that's connected to the staff report as well. But just the highlights of it is about extending the agreement to 2040, and this was a conversation we had back in July. And the purpose of that is to help spread out the impact of the proposed rate adjustments versus just running the existing agreement till 2027, which is its current time frame. We added language for some of the reporting, some of the waste studies and route reviews that the new state laws require to be done. So that language you'll now see in the proposal. Discussion was had about the HHW facility, and the proposal is to reopen it as it was pre-fire when the subscription services get back to the pre-fire levels. But until then, there would be at least 2 non-municipal solid waste events a year. They could both be HHW like we've been doing. One could be a waste tire event, because we typically have grant money for that too, but we're going to be holding at least 2 events a year until the point we can get the HHW facility back up and running like it was pre-fire. Another was changing the text about the rate methodology, moving away from the consumer price index, which you'll see listed as CPI here, to an operating ratio. And with that operating ratio would be a maximum annual increase tied to it, so that the rate could never go beyond a certain percentage per year, depending on what year in the contract it was. Also, we updated the rate schedule to reflect the maximum amounts it could be based on those annual maximum increases and the organic rate collection rates that are being proposed as well. And then the street sweeping exhibit was swapped out for organics collection. And so I think the most impactful part of this, of course, are the rate adjustments. And so there's a myriad of items that are causing those rates to be looked at and brought before you tonight. A big one's SB 1383, the cost of collection and disposal for organics. The equipment and vehicle requirements that we'll see not only for the organics, but just the regular replacement of the vehicles that are already in the fleet. The reduced customer accounts. Right now, we're blessed to be at least 1/3 of the population that we were before, but there's still a long ways to go. So that certainly has an impact on their revenues to expense ratio, and then just the NRWS financial impacts from the campfire, and that led to some of those extra services being suspended, like the green waste and the recycling and other items that you see in the franchise agreement. So there's two parts to how the rates work. One is the rate methodology, and that's how they actually calculate each year how the rates will be adjusted for the next year. So currently we use Consumer Price Index, and they get 100% of that change between last year's and this year's rate. And so when you look at the average increases over the last 5 years, and I'm including the increase that's about to go in January, we have an average of about 3.78% per year using the CPI. With the proposal, it would be moving to an operating ratio. And so that would take a look annually at their shortfall or overages for revenues based on what their required revenue is and adjust it accordingly to essentially true them up. And so what a required revenue is you add all of your expenses, your operating expenses, your pass-through costs, and on top of that is a profit margin. That total number, that's your required revenue, and that's what they're trying to get their net revenues up to meet. And so the way the operating ratio says is if your required revenue's here, but you only brought in this much, you get trued up to this point. But they recognize there's such a disparity right now because of the customer base and what we have available to us. Those percentages could be in the ballpark of 80%, and that just clearly isn't acceptable. So along with using the operating ratio, we also propose to put in a maximum annual increase that regardless if they're still running in the red and their revenues or their expenses aren't being met, they're only allowed to raise the rates X amount of percent per year. And that's broken down into segments, and we'll get to that next. So the solid waste rate schedules, these are the rate schedules the town received for consideration, and it covers two different rate schedules. One is what we kind of refer to as the base rates, and those are the services we're getting provided today. That's garbage, recycling, and just the green waste. And so when we talk about the operating ratio, we talk about the maximum annual increase, it's just about the base rates, the services we get today. And so you'll see those categories, 2024 through 2027, so for the first 4 years, the most they could charge would be 8% annually. Then for the next 5 years, the most they can charge is 5% annually. And then finally, for the last 8 years, it would be 2.5%, because the idea is, as the town continues to grow, and this is based on projections using a 5% subscription service growth for NRWS per year, so the idea is as the population grows, so do their service accounts, and so those increases need to be smaller and smaller as we get out there, because they're getting closer and closer to meeting their required revenue. And then the second rate structure is for organics collection, and this is on top of the base rates. We don't have a start date as of yet, right? As you saw in your staff reports, the county's still working on a transload facility where the haulers would haul to the landfill, we dump at a spot that would be collected and run by a third party who will win an RFP through the county, and then hauled out of county to be processed, because we don't have a facility in Butte County that can process commingled organic waste, which is food waste and green waste. If that doesn't happen fast enough, then we do have a final date of September 1st that we will go live, even if that means that we have to do like a mini transfer station at the NRWS lot instead, and then haul to their parent company's composting facility in Yolo County. And those conversations have already started with Butte County Environmental Health, so they know, and we're getting aware of what those permitting requirements are going to be. We're only going to be allowed so long to wait before CalRecycle says you must implement. Their deadline for us right now is March 1st, and we already know we won't meet that. So we'll already have to be in discussions about extending that. But we do have a final drop dead date written in the franchise, and that's September 1st. If the county's not ready to go, then NRWS will be ready to go instead. And so these organics rates are just for that portion, and again, it's on top of the base rates for a combined service rate. So this was in your staff report as well. These are the maximum rates that could be charged to the customer. That's the base rates plus organics through 2040. Again, these are the most that can be charged. It can be less, and especially if we continue to grow at the rate that we're growing, that just gets their revenues to that required revenue level faster, which means the percentages go down faster. One thing I did wanted to point out, and this was a conversation I believe we had in July maybe, was about the care rate. NRWS had brought this up about instituting a care rate within their rate structure, which isn't currently there. So they are putting that as part of their proposal. And then finally, this is a visual kind of what I'm talking about when I say revenue requirement versus the projected revenue. So in the gray, that's where they're trying to get to that would cover all the expenses plus their profit margin. The orange is where they're projecting the actual revenues will be. So you see as we get further out in the agreement towards the end, that's where they finally meet up and maybe even eclipse it. And at that point, that's where you see the operating ratio will likely be the better of the options other than the fixed or the maximum annual increase. And it could potentially even lower the rates because they can't go any higher than that gray line. And so if the revenues exceed it, then the rate comes down. But again, these are projections based on assumptions into the future, right? This could change based on our rate of growth and any kind of unknown future unfunded state mandates. So for the next step, there's a couple options for council to consider. One is if you are ready to move forward with an amended and restated franchise agreement, then there is a resolution of intent included in your staff reports. And that's essentially authorizing staff and NRWS and legal counsel to get started on the Proposition 218 notices that we're required to send out to all the landowners and customers to tell them about the rate increases. They have an opportunity to protest it. It authorizes staff to set another public hearing that's at least 45 days out from when we do the mailing. And then finally, it'll also state that if there's not a majority protest, then the council may adopt the amended and restated franchise agreement at that meeting. The other options are, if council has further amendments they want done, they can remand that back to staff, tell us what it is. We'll work with the Solid Waste Committee again to make those changes. And then council can also authorize the Solid Waste Committee and for the town manager to execute a contract with a solid waste consultant if you would like another party's review over the documentation that's been presented as well. And so at this point, just open it for questions for myself. NRWS is here also to help maybe answer questions about the rate structures for you.
My one question is,
Yes, sir.
I understand from my briefing prior to this that NWRS will be losing money for a vast majority of this extended contract. Is that
You are correct. That's their projection based on their known expenses and how they project the growth to continue.
even though they get an 8% rate, they're still going to lose money? And
They will still be in the red.
my question was, why would a company want to do that, and how can they do that? Because I know, and Steve routinely tells me, when you run your own business, if you lose money, you stop getting a paycheck. And
Right.
I guess I was told that it's because other parts of that large company is absorbing the loss in order to allow us to continue growing as a community. Is that correct?
If it's okay, and do we have to open the hearing to allow Doug to come up to answer financial questions, or can? Okay, Doug, do you mind?
Good evening, council. That's a great question. It's a question that we continue to ask. Our group, the partners, have made a great investment into this community throughout the years. It started back in 2007. It's been a struggle, I'm sure, for many businesses in Paradise for the last 5 years. With the PG&E settlement, that has definitely helped offset some of those losses, but our group is I think, encouraged, as Councilmember Boland had mentioned, with the growth. And we're willing to gamble on that and, really see that the potential is there, And then we also recognize there's other opportunities for us still within this local service area. And when I say that, within Butte County. So I think, staying plugged in, engaged, we can hang on. The way that our partnership is always managed is we do not typically, it's long-term. We're managing this contract for the next contract beyond. So it's really, it's an investment today for beyond 2040. That's typically the way our group has looked at things. They've been, many of them have been, in their jurisdictions, and I'm talking the ownership of we're privately held, have been there for generations, and actually have a next generation plan built into the management and how that will be carried on. I realize that that's a hard thing to understand, but the money has already been spent. The investment has already been here. They've put in there the last 5 years is, I think, a testament. We were for sale, but that was at the beginning. We weren't sure where that growth was at, where it was going to be. We're hopeful that growth will continue and possibly even exceed what it's been. I hope that answers the question adequately. There's a lot of risk, and I think there's a lot of risk in running any business. But I can assure you that the ownership and our local management and local team here is committed to the community. Getting back to the rates, that's an uncomfortable discussion to have. Please realize this is a worst case scenario. This is what we anticipate. We're hopeful that the growth, and we discussed that this morning in our solid waste committee, we're recognizing some real good multifamily growth, which I think is going to help definitely with our revenues. So with our audited financials, there's always going to be that opportunity to look at what we're actually doing, and we're hoping that within the next 4 or 5 years, really we can maintain and really be sustainable in those revenues and do well with this franchise. And I think you've got our commitment that we're going to run that efficiently, and definitely with those audited financials, the town will have the opportunity to look to make sure that we're also managing our operating expenses well. We're not just out there spending money like a drunken sailor. And I think the last 5 years, I have Andrew Guidi here, our controller, with us. I think they've really flexed. As you know, I took a little hiatus, was gone for some time, but we have a great team. I feel fortunate that we're back and able to offer this to the town. We recognized, as Susan indicated, taking that kind of increase through 2027 is just not something that we could not really even think about putting that through to the ratepayers. And I also realize that through 2040, the rates, they escalate up quite a bit, but we're hopeful that growth will exceed, and we can, those rates will be nowhere even close to where this is at. That's our hope.
So, are you done? Yeah. I'm sorry. So, first, I want to acknowledge the fact you guys have stuck with us since the fire, and thank you. And you left town to go make this thing work. That was a big sacrifice.
And our team stayed, and that's what Andrew ran things, and I'm thankful for that.
I am too, and you sacrificed being away from family and stuff during that time, so thank you. So I'm asking tough questions, and that is only because that's our job. So, right now, do you know, how do we stand in comparison to other jurisdictions? Let's just take Chico. How do we stand? Let's just take I think that was a 35-gallon.
We're currently quite a bit more. And with that, it's obviously the economy of scale, but Chico also has their commercial sector, which really is able to offset some of those rates. Probably a more comparable would be the unincorporated county. and we're close. In the
still
containers, in the 95 gallon, the largest container, the county is a lot more. It's, I think, $3 more a month currently.
Okay.
We do not know where the 1383 numbers are actually going to be. City of Chico hasn't even discussed it. In the county, we still have not really talked dollars around that.
33 numbers. was
That's the
that?
organics, I'm sorry.
He's asking about current rates, though.
Current
Because
rates.
our rates are going to increase.
Current rates.
Even after the 1383 will increase more.
Correct. But I think the county rates right now are in line with where the majority of the services are at.
Okay.
The 60, because we have the 3 container sizes residentially, the 35, 65, and the 95. And in the county, we have a lot more of those 95 gallon containers, which then, that brings that revenue back up.
So as your projection is, I mean, this is a projection, you know, right? Our crystal balls are
Burned up in the fire, right?
clouded, if anything. But what I see here is, at 2040, you're gonna get $72 from $37 currently to $72 at 2040. Is the way this thing.
That's, the model indicates that, that is correct.
Which is just short of 100% increase.
Yes, and that's, we're hopeful that that's not the case. Again, that's worst case scenario.
Well, I know that.
We're hopeful that with the introducing the operating ratio and looking at the rates annually, that we can hopefully avoid that kind of increase in the future with the growth.
Yeah, and
That's-
again.
that's what we're
there's
hopeful.
no guarantees on that,
There is not.
and that's a lot, that's a lot.
It is,
It's-
absolutely.
And it's gonna be very difficult for people to, because what's required, you have to have garbage service. That's gonna be very difficult.
But
And that's what the care rate was brought back into, the line with that. And we were trying to align it with similar to,
And it
the
doubles.
qualification would be, if they have the PG&E care rate, it would basically, that's the pre-qualifier with that. So that was the offering with that, was we realized the rates were extending over the life of the contract.
Do you know
Quite a
where,
bit.
and I'm using Chico or the county, where they're projected to be at that point in time?
We do not know that.
We don't have that information.
Not with what the 1383 information is
All
going
right,
to be.
let's leave that aside, I mean, that's
it's,
gonna be.
but that's what you're looking at. It's in that-
That, it'll just be it's just the consumer price indexed is what they'll be getting then, if the 1383 wasn't there.
And I know you used on this chart, we had a 5-year CPI at 3.78, if I wrote that down right.
The
If
average.
you look at the last 20 years, which we're talking about a 20-year, almost a 20-year if you get a 3-year extension. If you go back the last 20 years, let's just say 2%. We had some high ones, we had some low ones, and I
It
understand.
balances, yeah.
So we're at 2%, so we're projected to go up quite a bit significant, more, almost double again. So how do we sell that? How do we sell it to the people?
That's the tough question. The numbers are what we've proposed. You know, it's something that it's not easy for us to say that, yes, this is what it is. We're hopeful that the growth will continue at the rate that, because it's been above 5%. So we're hopeful that this will just be just a marker that is just an indicator that this is where it could be.
Worst case.
There's no doubt, all of it costs. Inflation is a real thing.
Absolutely.
And
In all sectors.
all sectors,
In
it
building, I
comes
understand.
across.
Trust
But
me, I
what,
understand.
let me check. What you're looking at is $72 at the end, it's doubling. That includes the organics. This is another unfunded state mandate that does not work in rural communities. And so when you look at the CPI from the previous 5 years or something, it's not apples to apples. You know, Because that alone is a 14% increase. I'm looking at it right here. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right here. Okay, and that's what it says. Okay, so that's, you know, I mean, that's what's skewing this thing, and there's a whole bunch of other things that are built in there that are skewing it, you know? I mean, it's, when the county, they got some surprises coming that are gonna even screw up all of these assumptions. The tipping rate you pay for a ton at the county, they haven't done any kind of rate adjustment in years. And when they do, they're gonna triple their rates down there. And those are direct pass-throughs. And, you know, there's so much stuff that.
So,
the
you're
public
saying it
doesn't
could be worse than
understand.
this?
It could be, yeah, because that's a pass-through. And, you know, I think to Doug's point about the balancing, if our growth keeps going and we get our community back with all, because what it was in the past and what is going on in Chico, where they have a little cheaper rate residentially, it's because the commercial, they have a lot more commercial than we'll ever have. But all of those things offset that. That's the way these solid waste companies operate in municipalities, you know? And there's a bunch of unknowns that you guys that drive big equipment, the cardboard, they got a service vehicle that has 60,000 miles on it, and they gotta go buy a new vehicle for, you know, $100,000 because the air resource board says you can't drive that anymore. You know, just like the organic thing, Cal Recycle saying, that's a 14% increase to every ratepayer. Because they say, me and my wife have to take all of our food scraps and put in my green waste thing. And there's no place in the county to take it. So, you know, it's a bitter pill, but our battle isn't with these folks that have been true to us for 14 years. Our battle is with the state of California.
And I hope you know I'm having a battle with you.
Oh, no,
Battle.
and I think we're gonna see that with all of our utilities across the board, you know,
But
we're not.
we're talking about a guaranteed contract. A guaranteed contract. You have some things that can go up and down, you have some ways of doing things, but this is guaranteed to our people. And that's why I'm asking the question. It's not a fight, it's just, that's a tough one.
No, it's, believe me, this is something I've battled with since we've started with this. I know the Solid Waste Committee, when it was, the sticker shock was real. And it's something that I don't think any of us take lightly. And these are some tough decisions to make.
Let me ask another question. Is that a contract rate? My understanding is you have a max profit of what, 9% or something like that. So if we come back faster, then it caps this number, does it not, the increase in rate? Because as soon as you start breaking even or making profit, you can only take a maximum amount of 9%, and you can't increase the rates at that point.
No.
So if we do a better job here, and staff does a better job, and we get the downtown rebuilt and the sewer in and all these other things, and people come up here in droves, you may not have to go to this rate, is that correct? Or will you always plan on going to that, 100% increase by 2040?
No, it has the opportunity, if the revenues are there, the monthly rate could decrease.
Okay.
These are maximum.
Okay.
So what was proposed was a maximum. So that's the portion of going to that OR rate methodology, I mean.
Let me bring up one other thing that, one of the things that was proposed to the Solid Waste Committee before, when staff brought to the council asking for direction on 4 different things, what Northern Recycling came to us with and said, look, if you give us a longer contract, we'll absorb the losses, we'll spread it out, it'll reduce and what they asked for at that point in time or what they suggested, one of the other options that could be put in there. When it was presented here to the full council, we absolutely didn't even entertain the idea. It was a reduction in the franchise fee, which is currently 7% to the town. And so all of us ratepayers, whatever money we pay for our bill, whatever that bill is, 7% is going to go to the town. So they said, well, if you give us a reduction in that, say cut it down to 3%, that 5% that you shave off that, or 2%, that 5% would be directly applied to the increases to the ratepayer. And my position on that committee at the time, why I even probably said something in that open meeting, was we have money from PG&E that's letting us grow and build and sustain ourselves for a while. So we don't really need that $50,000. And they also offered to, like, it's not forever, just for right now while we're trying to get through all of these changes. And then with markers, be it commercial or residential, customer base as it increases, that percentage would come back to the town. So that was an option that was offered to help further this calculation, to reduce this rate to the ratepayer, but we as a council on this dais said we're not going to even entertain any discussion about franchise fees. So that's something there's something out there that we could give direction to staff. We'll go look at that, maybe plug that in and show me what the numbers look. And I'm just saying that's just information that they presented that idea to us, and it was never pursued.
So, you were talking about maximum profit and, operating costs that need to be substantiated, stuff like that. I don't know how to ask these questions without it sounding like I'm questioning your integrity. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't question it at all. But when you're in business, there's ways of
Sure.
having operating costs and having things, cost things that go above what really you had to have, because it's future stuff. It's stuff you're purchasing for the future, but you didn't have to buy right now, but you're doing it. Take farmers. They do it all the time. They're always buying equipment. They're doing stuff to keep, they're always not making money. And I'm not saying you're doing that, and I don't question your integrity, but that's the tough matzo ball that we're being asked to handle right now. And I don't know what to do with that.
And that is something else that we've plugged into the model as well. So we did, and that's where I know there's in Susan's staff report that actually shows where we've built in some capital. It's basically planning, okay, where do we think it's gonna, come back in? Where are we gonna have to add equipment? The big wild card for us is, and we've just gotta move forward with, we don't know what the electric vehicle legislation's actually gonna do. So that's a whole nother piece of it. I don't feel, I shouldn't speak for others, but I think your point is that's why I mentioned that, by submitting our financials, our audited financials, and there's opportunities for the town to dig in further into those financials. And hey, we're seeing a spike. Why is that your labor increasing here, town related? And the way our financials are audited, it's a company-wide. So you've got an opportunity to see what the county also. And, Andrew is the controller, there's allocations of, so the county is being charged their portion. And the town of Paradise is charged theirs. And that's always it's a balancing account. I shouldn't even really use that term, because it's adjusted regularly with the subscription levels.
So are you factoring in the purchase of electric trucks?
No.
Thank you.
Is what we've plugged in is additional equipment as we see as the town grows, because we're not sitting on a big fat fleet right now. Where we are seeing is that we're gonna need, and it's right around 2028 to 2030 is where you'll see our depreciation schedule. It kind of starts, it hits this point and then it spikes up again. That's where we added additional equipment. And right now, we've got 4 trucks on order right now. We've received 2 of them, and they're $500,000 each now. The prices have just gone through the roof.
And the roads are beating them up, and I get that.
So
I have the same concern that the council member has asked. And the way I'm looking at it, Greg, is if you're losing money, you're not going to be buying a lot of extra stuff. And that's where I'm comfortable with what they presented, because they'll be losing money for most of this contract and won't make it back till towards the end. So on the other side of that coin, I'm concerned about the ratepayers and all that. And so I'm interested in the concept that Woody brought up about the franchise agreement, if that's something we can look at. I'm not saying I approve it, or just I don't know enough about it. I'm just saying, I heard something that could help the ratepayers. Is that something we can entertain, or something we should totally, is that a third rail?
And that was always there. I always had a problem with that too, but that was always been there to take care of roads and wear and tear on things that happen, you know, from their trucks and different things. So I don't know that that's not gonna be the big thing that changes this. Yeah.
Well, 8% is a big chunk of change for some people, if they implement that right away. That was the area I was concerned about. That's a big increase.
So we have public.
Public,
I'll be here. Any other questions?
those?
So I've been on the solid waste committee for 3 years now. I think here, in just full disclosure, there are a couple very big unknowns in this contract. Number one is, what is the profit margin that they're using a correct one? It's about 0.9. We don't know if it's standard or not. The other thing is we're using their modeling for what they think that the growth rate is going to be, which I think arguably we've beat some of the growth rate that even what their models show at this point. So I think that in making the decision, the council needs to be aware that we are looking at doing a contract with some really big unknowns. And staff isn't 100% for sure. Those of us who sat on the solid waste committee are not 100% sure either. So I think, in a way, it's a little bit of a gamble for us to agree to this contract at this point. The other alternative, which I don't know if any of us are real excited about either, is to hire a consultant to say, look, are these the right measurements that we should be using? Is this the correct ratio? Is this the correct growth rate? Because none of us really know that. And I don't know, I'd asked earlier if you were able to find the profit margin, like you said it was standard profit margin. I don't know if you were able to be able to find what the sites were on that, or, yeah.
After going back and talking about that, and the question was basically where was the 90.5% operating ratio derived from? It was actually the town of Paradise that came up with that.
Perfect.
That's the way the original rates were established back in 2006 when the RFP was originally put out by the consultant at that time. So that's where that was established at, so it was just transferred over. So I was reminded that. So.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So, that was the other alternative that was brought up. The other thing with the care rate, I think that we also need to be aware if we sign off on the care rate, then we are asking other taxpayers to subsidize that, or other ratepayers to subsidize the care rate. So, and that's just the way that works. So I think those are the things that the council needs to be aware of. I think if we were to hire a consultant, it would be close to $30,000 at least, probably. And we don't know if they'd give us any better answer, to be perfectly honest, so.
And my feeling on that is I don't know that a consultant is the answer. I mean, audited P&Ls CPA can look at because the numbers are the numbers. And it's pretty clear cut and not much doubt they're losing money now. Everything else is a projection figure. I don't like the sounds of 2040 either. But I mean, right now when you guys started, we were 30,000 people, and now we're 10. So you're doing something that you didn't sign up for either. So I think maybe there has to be a little bit of trust factor here in what we're all doing. You've been a good partner, and again, audited financials in 2040 are going to show what they are, and it is what it is. And I guess I could support a CPA looking, but I can't support spending money on a consultant to give another opinion that is just that.
So, just so that one of the things we did request was those audited financials, and it should be done on a yearly basis, so that we have an understanding.
Any other questions from the dais? Do we have any cards on this, Dina?
I have one card from Ward Habriel.
Good evening, council. Let me start with this. I'm glad Newsom's not listening to you. He would rather hear 99% of your conversation about how to not make so much methane by putting food waste in a landfill instead of talking about how much money it costs to not do it. You remember his point? We cause global warming in the state of California because we allow too much methane to escape our landfills. That's full of crap, really. But that's what he thought and pushed this through to the point where we got Senate Bill 1383, and there's nothing we can do about it, right? Nothing. You can't. You can do some things like home composting. And food waste in home composting is a resource when you harvest the finished product and put it back into your garden. There are a few people that do that. I know some in the garden club. But I can tell you from my position statewide in the California garden clubs, this 1383 is a struggle everywhere you go. And for gardeners, you'd like to think there has to be a way that taking nutrient-rich, valuable commodity, we call garbage, and get it into the hands of somebody that can turn it into a resource that we can get back into our community and do some good out of it. Nobody is looking at that. We don't have space anywhere where anybody can do that on a corporate-wide basis. But home composting is still very, very possible. Now, the last time I retired as an environmental educator. I graduated at the top of my class to become a certified master composter. I know about making compost. I'm the star of the video, Do the Rot Thing. But you know what? Very few people want to be educated. Yeah, you gotta watch it, it's funny. Very few people actually think that's something that they can do at home, and yet it's one of the easiest things to teach people. Children in some grade schools actually run the composting program in elementary schools. The teachers just love it. The kids eat it up. Oh, wait, that's the wrong expression. The bugs and things eat it up. That's what happens in the compost pile. But if we're not going to think forward, when we have a resource that is currently going to landfill and we don't get it to some place where it has value to us, we really miss the boat. If you get value out of it, maybe it wouldn't cost so much to raise the rates on garbage hauling. And frankly, when you look around, the rates here are way higher than many other places, and we make way more garbage here than any other place. Way more than our neighbors, Mexico and Canada. Mexico still burns garbage. We don't like that. But in Canada, they're much more resourceful about things that would otherwise go to waste. Not like us. We're a very wasteful society. If you ever travel outside the United States, you would see that. And I have friends that I still know that live outside the United States. And some of them, like in England, you don't have a garbage service. You go to the end of the street to find a place for garbage. And there's very little in there. They just don't do what we do. We're a very wasteful society. Thank you for your time.
Bring it back to the dais. Do I hear a motion or a recommendation from the dais?
I make a motion, we approve the staff report as presented with the, what is the first item? What are you asking for the direct staff to work with the attorney, do a Prop 218 and flush out the contract.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second.
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Crowder to approve Resolution 2023-60. Okay. And all of the staff. Council member, or Vice Mayor Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde?
Aye. It passes. Okay. Item 6B, consider concurring with staff recommendation to reject all bids received for the animal shelter expansion project and direct staff to revise the project bid documents for reconsideration and advertisement. Who's going to speak to that?
All right. Thank you, Mayor Lassonde. Good evening, council. Tonight, we're going to present the bid results and some requests for action on the Paradise Animal Shelter expansion. This facility has been identified for need of expansion to address the operational needs of the staff, volunteers, and animals served. During the 2022-2023 fiscal year, Paradise Town Council agreed to accept an in-kind donation from the Paradise Animal Shelter Helpers, PASH, for the preparation of design and building plans of an expansion project. And the Town of Paradise Town Council agreed to provide $600,000 in funding for the construction of the facility. The facility benefits and the expansion benefits are listed in the agenda item, but includes additional space for the cat population, outdoor access, separate cat and dog isolation areas, and enhanced public reception and staff working areas as well. On October 10th, 2023, Paradise Town Council approved the project plans and specifications while authorizing staff to seek bids. And on November 16th this year, we received 2 bids for the project. And our engineer's estimate for the project was $534,000. And our low bid received on November 16th was $903,676. However, even this low bid included forms that were not valid, but indicated that their true bid amount was $1.2 million essentially. In general, the feedback from the bidders indicated that the project plans and specifications were inadequate for bidding with the desired level of certainty, to some degree causing higher prices in the bids. But also, we are now keenly aware of the cost implications of the national economy, factoring in construction pricing changes with inflation and labor availability. Staff is recommending Town Council reject all bids and provide direction to repackage the plans and specifications with a refined bid package by a firm contracted directly by the Town of Paradise. This direct contract will allow staff to use the work products developed by PASH and incorporate lessons learned from the first bidding cycle, ensuring that a revised project will meet the standards necessary to reduce the cost as much as possible. As I mentioned earlier, funding for the expansion project included $600,000 from $400,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act funding that the town currently is holding, and $200,000 of Measure V funds. We are requesting $50,000 of that allocation to be set aside for the project plans revisions, so that we can repackage and increase, or I'm sorry, provide a increased project bid set for typical and public works contracts. We've also been coordinating with PASH, and PASH is here this evening. We're so grateful for all the contributions that they make in the animal shelter as a whole, and specific to this project as well. We've been discussing the financial impact of the overall project, understanding that even with a refined bid package, we certainly don't, at this time, see the project cost coming down to the original estimate of $534,000. However, with that said, we are committed, and PASH is also committed to the scope identified in this project and continuing to move forward. So with that, I'm available for questions, and would like to, if I didn't say it explicitly again, to reject all bids and provide direction to move forward with a repackaged bid cycle. And when those plans and specs were available again, we'd come back to the council, and that current estimate would likely be February at the soonest, to approve the revised plans and specs and re-advertise.
Questions from the dais?
I just want to say that you guys at PASH have done a great job. It's pretty remarkable what you've been able to do. And it's sort of sad that we've come to a point where we've got to put this off again, because they've worked so hard for everything, but I do understand it, and I think that we kind of need to do what's best for them and to help them as much as we can. You know, it is a county-owned or a city-owned building on city-owned property. So I'm hoping that we can get this worked out for them.
And having heard that from you, I agree. Thank you, PASH, both of you and the team for all you've done. And they've been on this thing, and it's been a lot of work. I agree with getting it repackaged. We need to do that. It was interesting. I'm just unpacking some boxes in our new place, and one of them was a folder that was a council meeting just months before the fire, and the shelter came up in that meeting. We've dealt with this for 11 years that I've been on this council, the problem we have with this shelter. And the reason I say that is, we have a real opportunity right now to get this thing resolved and get us a good place that's gonna last us for years. And with Pash working with us, you know, something that I've never seen this opportunity come before us before. I'm also throwing out there that when we get this back, it might mean us making a tough decision and adding more money to this to make this work. I think at this point, it's gonna be well-spent, cheap money, because I promise you, things are not gonna get cheaper. I promise you that. And if we can get this behind us and get this shelter up and running the way it should be, we don't have to talk about this no more. It's so nice. It's so nice.
I think we need to get this done, and sooner rather than later. We've neglected that shelter for years and years, and it's really probably one of the poorest that you can see with the dogs and cats together, and no, there's fans and what have you, but no air conditioning for the animals, and we just need to do better than that, and Pash has done a great job, and I know they're really determined and they're working really hard, and I think what we need to do what we can to speed it up and get this shelter something that the community and the town can be proud of.
I simply have to echo what my fellow council members have said. I've walked through that facility, and it desperately needs a makeover, and it desperately needs to be expanded, and we need to step up to the task. And if it costs us some additional money, we need to figure out where we're going to take that to be able to deliver to our residents a animal shelter that fits the need of this particular town. So, Woody, do you have a question, it looks like?
No, I just, but since everybody's talking about what a good job Passion has done, I want to chime in too. I have two cats that, my cat, Scooter, he got burnt in a fire, and Fat Cat, he survived for 3 months out in the wild. And so, I know we haven't had cards yet, but I'm gonna make the motion that we do whatever Mark needs to do to get it rebid and keep up, don't lose hope. You know, because I think every one of us here is, we have pets, and, you know, that's an integral part of our community.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm going to have to ask if there are cards to have them served.
I know, I already did.
I have no cards on this
Okay, there's
item.
no cards, okay.
Then I will entertain a motion.
No, I'll entertain the motion, and I'll ask you to entertain it. Bring it to us.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, read the motion there, Dina, if you would, make sure we all in agreement.
Consider concurring with staff recommendation to reject all bids received for the animal shelter expansion project and direct staff to revise the project bid documents for reconsideration of advertisement.
Okay.
All right, motion by Culleton, seconded by Tryon. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder.
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon.
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6C, here an update on the CDBG DR workforce development allocation for Butte County for $18.7 million, and to consider approving resolution 2023-61.
Correct.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise approving an application for funding for the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from 2022-2023 funding year of the State of California CDBG DR Recovery Workforce Program. I think I read that right. Okay, who's going to speak to that?
I will. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as you heard tonight, I am asking for your consideration of this resolution for CDBG DR workforce development. We have discussed this item before. This is really a procedural item tonight that is required for the application. We are still working on the application with our many partners that are listed in your staff report tonight. We are still gathering those scopes and budgets, so we're really still forming that project, and I'll have more information for you at our January meeting on what that project is going to look like. But as we discussed previously, The vision for this project is a workforce development center that would be located on the Paradise High School campus. This would be a rehabilitation of 2 buildings that are there on that campus, currently serving as their CTE buildings, to be utilized for this training center that would really specialize in resilient building technologies and forestry practices. So we have a lot of partners that are very interested in providing this training. We understand from our community that this is a great need, not only for our adult learners in this community to build those skills, but also for our kids that are in high school to get on that pathway to be part of this community, to stay as part of this community and rebuild this community for the years to come. So this is a very exciting project. And again, this resolution is required for our application. So we wanted to have this be reviewed in front of you tonight so that we can move forward with this application. The applications are due in February. We are tracking, hopefully for the end of January for submission, but we will come before you again before we do submit that application. The Town of Paradise would be the lead applicant with quite a few partners providing most of those services since they are really the experts in workforce development, whereas we have the experience with CDBG DR, fortunately or unfortunately. So that is our experience and what we can bring to the table. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from the dais? When are we talking about them opening the doors on something like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It will depend a little bit on how long it takes to rehabilitate the building. So this particular grant wants these funds, right now they would like them committed by the end of 2024. Understanding the timelines involved in this, I can't say with certainty that those timelines would be extended, but I think it is a very real possibility that they would. And we do have experience with that in other grant areas, that those timelines are extended. So we do expect that that would happen. I think we could expect to see this certainly within a 2 to 3 year timeframe, especially understanding what this grant does require.
Yeah, this is something that will help our youth remain on the ridge. If they can get training in this and they can stay here rather than having to find someplace else to have a job and all that. So that'll encourage people to move up here and otherwise. So this is, to me, a very important project and something we desperately need up here. All right, are there any other questions from the dais? Hearing none, are there any
I
cards?
have no cards on this item.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
Move approval?
Second?
Second?
Okay, moved and second.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Culleton to approve Resolution 2023-61, approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2022-23 funding year of the state CDBGDR Recovery Workforce Program. Roll call vote. Vice Mayor Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lasson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 6D, consider adopting resolution number 2023-62, a resolution of the Town Council, Town of Paradise, approving plans, specifications, an estimate for the 2024 on-system road rehabilitation, HSIP Systemic Intersection Safety Improvement Project, and authorizing advertisement for the bids on the project.
Is this the problem one?
It's the off-system one I think's the problem. I know I'll have to recuse on the off-system. So the on-system we can talk about. So who's pitching that? Mark?
Yes. All right. So the next 2 items are very similar. And so when we're talking 2024, that's for the year of the project delivery, and we have multiple years, obviously. We've been doing this since 2022. And when I say on system, we mean project funded through the Federal Highways Administration Emergency Relief Program as a result of the 2018 Camp Fire, restoring our roads to a pre-Camp Fire condition. And on-system really refines those types of roads typically are major collectors and arterials here shown on the map. Every road kind of highlighted in blue, red, or gray here are on-system roads in Paradise. So with that, the item before you for item 6D is related to approving the project plans and specifications and advertisement for bids for our project number 3, which will be delivered in 2024 for on-system roads. This includes portions of Almond Street, Billy, Central Park, Cliff Drive, Elliott Road, Foster Road, Maxwell Drive, Row Road, Valley View Drive, and Wagstaff Road for a total of 7.7 miles. In total, the project estimate is $7.726 million. If approved tonight for advertising, we anticipate awarding a contract no later than March, with construction spring through fall of 2024. The overall project budget through On-System Roads, I believe, is about $41 million, and we've been drawing down this funding as we go and award these projects. We are tracking very nicely on this project as a whole, which is great on the asphalt bid prices we've had in prior years, and we hope that this year, when we come back and award a contract early next year, we'll see the same and tracking again for, even with the original estimates, we did factor in escalation and things like that affect our construction prices. But so far, the bidding community for this type of work has been favorable in the projects that we've been packaging for delivery. So with that, the program funds 75.25% of all project costs, and then we are leveraging our CDBG DR infrastructure funds to fulfill our 24.75 match. So in essence, the entire project is grant funded and has zero impact to the town's general fund. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions on the project. I'll just note here on the map, the red colors here are shown as what will be delivered in 2024. Blue will be future phases, and the kind of dark gray bold are phases that are already complete.
Questions from the dais? And my one question is, we have a project that has carried over from this year to next year that won't interfere with this project, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Hearing no questions on any cards on this one, Stina?
I have no cards on this item.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Colleton to approve resolution 2023-62. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland,
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder,
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon. Aye. And Mayor Lassonde.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 6E, adopt a resolution 2023-63, resolution of the Town Council, Town of Paradise, approving the plans, specification, and estimates for a 2024 off-system road rehabilitation project and authorizing advertisement for bids on the project. I suspect we have a few that have to recuse themselves because you're going to pave in front of our house.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I might, we're going to have to jump through a little bit of gymnastics here because we've got 3 council members who I believe need to recuse themselves related to financial conflicts of interest, related to properties that you own, i.e. your personal residences are included in this map. So because we would lose a quorum on this item, I contacted the FPPC, there is no exception. There is no, magic bullet that would allow all of you to participate. So what would happen is all 3 of you would recuse yourselves, but before we do that, there is something called a rule of necessity. We'll have you draw straws at random. Whoever gets is it short straw or long straw?
Short straw.
Whoever gets the short straw
Is that a bad thing?
will remain, yeah, well, that's what it is, will remain so that we can have a quorum. My recommendation is that the person be the last one to determine whether or not they want to vote. If the other 2 are in favor of the item, then you abstain, so you don't vote on the item. If there's a tie, the tie needs to be broken, and you can do that, but first we need to jump through the hoops of having a random selection of a council member who...
For clarification, can we pass a resolution without a quorum? You said if it's 2-0, or...
You can. The resolution would pass with a majority of those present for the vote.
Okay, all right.
3 of us are on there?
Yes.
What road?
All of them, the ones that are all in color.
You're not one of them.
You're not one of them.
You're not. Okay, cool.
You're in.
On page 356.
Yeah, so the record is clear, which 3, we've got council, yep, we've got the mayor, we've got, yep, the vice mayor, and Councilmember Rose.
Oh, Steve. No, we're on policy. How bad do you want this, Mark?
Yeah, but everybody's got it. Yeah, I mean, the FPPC, whether it's a little bit of exposure or a lot, it's the same. But having said that, whoever gets the short straw, then I would suggest you remain silent until the end to determine whether you even need to vote at all, but you do need to remain so that there's a quorum.
Would we abstain? Or we-
You would then just abstain from the vote, it'd be 2 in favor and 1
Two in
abstention.
favor and 1 abstain, and it would pass.
Yes.
Okay,
Got it.
let's get this done.
Okay, very good.
It's a little,
Should have brought the straws.
we should have brought some theme music.
Straws? Just straws. Oh, just straws. Oh, that's true. Is that a paper straw, Dina?
Nope.
Oh, my goodness.
Who's got the short one?
Who got the short straw?
Did you have the short one? Rose got the short one. Okay, keep it on.
So now who runs the meeting? Who calls the vote?
Let's just have Steve run the meeting, can we?
Okay, so item
60.
6E, Mark, would you like to?
Thank you, Councilmember Crowder. Similarly to the item previously, this is a request for approval of plans and specifications, this time for what we call off-system roads, and what that means are projects funded through FEMA. And what that also means is off-system roads are more typically residential roads that don't qualify as collectors or arterials for basic circulation and transportation needs. So with that, we are operating similarly in delivering our second project in 2024, which will be 13.7 miles. The agenda packet includes a full listing of projects or roadways, but here shown again in red are the roads planned for 2024 delivery. If approved tonight, we plan to advertise immediately and award a contract early next year with construction next summer, and we'll follow again in projects in 2025 and 2026. As I mentioned, for the on-system project, we have a budget for this effort as well, funded through FEMA. As a whole, it's a $35.26 $35.26 million budget, and this year's project will be $9.879 million as far as what we're estimating to deliver the roads in red. Similarly, we're tracking very nicely on this budget, and this is an overall improved project through the town of Paradise and FEMA. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility in working with the guidelines in FEMA and delivering the right road rehabilitation treatment for these roadways. I believe that's the end of the presentation. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Move approval.
Any cards, Dina?
I have no cards on this item.
Now I'll move approval of item 6E.
I'll second.
Motion by Cullivan, seconded by Crowder, to approve resolution 2023-63. So roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Crowder,
Aye.
Councilmember Cullivan.
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon,
Abstain?
and Mayor Lassonde is absent. Motion passes.
Tell them they don't own their property anymore.
We were enjoying our meeting in there.
Hey, we had extra property while we were outside.
You gotta pass that by my wife. All right, so that's the house in the world. Okay.
Well, that's a first.
I remember you being out of there for sewers a bunch of times too.
Yeah, well, I mean, 3 of them.
Oh, 3 of them, yes, that's true. Item 6F, consider concurring with the staff recommendation to file a CEQA notice of exemption to the Billy Road, Pence Road Storm Drain Project, and resolution number 2023-63, and I won't read the rest of it. So who's presenting on that? Oh, Mark again?
Yes, well, last one. All right, thank you, Mayor Lassonde. Good evening again, council. The item before you is a request for the council to concur with staff recommendation to file a CEQA notice of exemption for the Billy Road, Pence Road Storm Drain Project, adopt a resolution authorizing the town manager to negotiate with Edward Gleason and Fred Alley Gleason, trustees of the Edward J. Gleason and Fridelli N. Gleason Revocable Trust to acquire a non-exclusive storm drain easement at the subject property APN 050210089 and any other related documents necessary to complete the acquisition of the property. Some quick background on this item includes that following construction of the Ponderosa Elementary Safe Routes to School project, which included installation of a new Class 1 bike path as well as other items of work in culvert pipes and storm drain infrastructure. That infrastructure relied on an existing prescriptive easement adjacent to 6445 Pence Road. And as previously discussed last month, heavy precipitation in the 2023, September 2023 storm event resulted in water flows that exceeded the capacity of this drainage ditch. With that, we are seeking a permanent solution to reduce the amount of downstream runoff into the ditch and to construct a 300 linear foot of subsurface storm drain infrastructure and divert the ditch runoff into this new system. At the request of the property owner and in an attempt to reduce further constraining of the existing parcel, the location of the new pipe is proposed to be within an existing non-exclusive road and public utilities easement on a portion of this property. The storm drain infrastructure proposed is not considered a public utility, therefore requiring the acquisition of 11,977 square feet of a non-exclusive storm drain easement. Here on the plat map shown here on Exhibit B of the purchase agreement, this whole portion is a 60-foot wide road and public utility easement from here to here that goes the whole depth of the property. And we are seeking to acquire a 30-foot wide portion of that storm drain easement that would not reduce the ability for other utilities or use of the road to be used within that same 30-foot area. Obviously, our storm drain pipe is not going to take up this entire area as well. So it will be kind of a leverage of what already is constrained on the property. We've had the acquisition formally appraised as well as designed to take a fair market value assessment of the purchase price, and the results of that acquisition research was $4,450. The deed document, legal description, plat map, and waiver valuation and purchase and sales agreement are all included in the agenda item report. The total estimated cost for the project is $100,000 and will be paid from local drainage funds. The estimated expenditure breakdown is shown in the agenda item, but essentially the construction cost is about $87,000 of that $100,000 budget. We're also seeking environmental review finding for the CEQA process there, and the notice of exemption to be filed. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions the council might have on this item.
Questions from the dais?
So this is as a result of our annual 100-year rainfall.
It was a known problem. I don't have any photos, but certainly we are seeing, as we talked about, increased flows. And so we saw it in 2022. We did some additional slope stabilization where the drainage ditch was essentially up against the multifamily complex for the property south of this, running along this line here. And so in order to really provide the most appropriate solution to this problem rather than trying to increase the capacity of this ditch or flood-proofing the structure, it really does make sense to move forward with an outfall along this existing easement just upstream.
Can you just give me an idea where the water comes from and where it goes to? I mean, is it coming from some property in the back there?
No, so the water is originating from Pence Road itself, and it eventually reaches Dry Creek, so I will...
Oh, so you're taking it from Pence over to the creek?
From Pence over to the creek.
Oh.
Yes, I apologize for not having that map ready.
That's right, no, I got it. This is really close to Bill Extension across.
It is.
From Bill Extension, okay, all right, I got it.
Okay.
It wasn't making sense.
And
So landowner is in agreement with the purchase?
Well, the landowner is aware of the item that we are bringing forward for council approval, and the basic feedback we heard was interested in the solution, wanted to make sure that was a non-exclusive easement. And so we are definitely constricted on what the town can offer for compensation, which is the fair market value, which is included in the agenda item. So following approval, if it were to be approved, we will present this package for Mr. Gleason to consider and sign.
Okay, and so basically what he's requesting, he's in favor of doing this theoretically, but
Yes.
is just requesting that his easement not be restricted in any way.
Correct.
And we can grant that to him.
Yes, and so if we were simply trying to formalize the existing condition and improve it, it would be another easement along this southern boundary, and his parcel's already constrained by the 60-foot easement. So we're trying to work within this area, avoid other utilities, and make sure that it's really not limiting what he could develop on parcel 3 here shown in this area.
Is that what non-restricted means?
Non-exclusive, meaning that the infrastructure, or the easement would be recorded against the property, but it wouldn't preclude any other use that's acceptable in that same area.
Meaning he could put a shed there or something?
Meaning that other public utilities could still be installed within the area that we are acquiring. And it's still a 60-foot wide public road, or I'm sorry, roadway easement as well.
Any other questions? Hearing none, are there any cards on this?
I have no cards on this item.
Okay, I'll entertain the motion.
Hang on, we had someone that wanted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please, come up to the microphone.
Okay. Hi, Carrie Max. So the purchase and sales agreement, so then the town of Paradise would own it?
We would have.
I'm just wondering how that all works out.
Yeah, we would have legal rights to the easement for the infrastructure that would be installed and be required to
But we
maintain.
would not own it.
It's an easement, right?
It's an easement. We use
So it still belonged to the trust, their trust,
Yes.
just you get to help them out.
We get to dig it and put the pipe in.
Okay, I was just trying to understand it. Thank you very much.
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second?
Motion by Boland, seconded by Culleton to adopt resolution number 2023-64. Roll call vote. Vice Mayor Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lisson.
Aye. All right, item 6G, consider appointing council representatives and alternates to represent the town of Paradise on various local and regional boards, committees, and commissions. I'll let the horse trading begin. Do you run that, Dina, or am I supposed to run that?
I can do it if you like.
If you would, please.
Okay. So the first item is for the Butte County Commission's Air Quality Management District. Currently, Councilmember Lassonde and Tryon. Tryon is the representative and Lassonde is the alternate. Would you like to continue those?
Yeah.
Does that work?
that works.
Okay. And the association, the Butte County Association of Governments, those would remain the same as well? Okay.
Good with that?
The city selection committee is the mayor, so Councilmember Lassonde, that would be you. The disaster council is also the mayor, that would be you, Mayor Lassonde. Councilmember Boland is the appointed by the city selection committee for LAFCO, so that will remain the same. The mosquito and vector control board is Melissa Schuster, who is appointed until 2027. The Waste Management Local Task Force is currently Councilmember Culleton and Councilmember Tryon. Would you like to keep those committee assignments or change?
No, I would like to go off.
Who would like to go on?
I'll stay there.
You want to stay? Okay. So who would like to be the other representative on the Waste Management Local Task Force?
That's between Steve and Greg. Which one of you wants it?
Arm wrestling?
It's where you get to talk.
I think the arm wrestling should be.
Get the straws out again.
Okay.
Well,
Get the straws out.
We don't have a, are you gonna take it, Steve? If not, Greg seems like he knows a whole lot about it.
About trash?
Yeah. Well, the question you asked were very pointed.
I'd like to look at the legislation committee.
Okay. Okay.
So,
What was the decision?
So Councilmember Bolin, you'll do the waste management?
Okay.
Okay. The city county ad hoc committee is currently Councilmember Culleton.
So what's that for?
The city county ad hoc
Oh,
committee?
yeah, they don't hardly ever meet.
Okay, so do you want to remain there?
I'll stay there.
Okay. The T-bid is currently Colette, and Councilmember Lassonde, you are on there as well?
I can remain on that one.
Okay. The Continuum of Care, Councilmember Culleton and Mayor Lassonde is the alternate.
I think I can remain. We haven't met in the last year on that one, have we?
It's all Zoom stuff.
Yeah.
It's like whack.
Yeah, okay.
So would
If
you?
you can leave me there, I don't ever go there.
Oh. Okay, so Councilmember Culleton and Mayor Lassonde? Yes?
Continuing, I don't care.
Yeah, well,
Councilmember Troyan, you're in the Butte County Fire Safe Council. Would you like to remain there?
Yeah, I didn't know if they're meeting, so.
Okay. They meet on the first Wednesday of every month here.
Yeah, they usually counsel, so.
Okay, so we will go on to the local committees and commissions. So Paradise Community Village is currently Councilmember Bolin and Culleton is the alternate. Would you like to remain on those?
Easiest one to do.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
All right, Councilmember Culleton?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Paradise Irrigation District Liaison is currently Councilmember Tryon and Mayor Lassonde.
Do you want to take that one?
That's your call.
Yeah, go for it.
You wanna do it? Sure.
So
I'll do it.
Vice Mayor Bolin.
We have a meeting tomorrow there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at 3:30.
Yeah, at PID.
There goes your one.
Okay, so for PID, that is Vice Mayor Bolin and Mayor Lassonde, okay? The Paradise Recreation and Park District Liaison is currently Councilmember Crowder and Councilmember Culleton. Would you like to remain on that?
Sure.
Yes, okay, thank you. Paradise Solid Waste Committee is currently Culleton and Tryon. So would Bolin and Culleton like to do that since you're on the Waste Management Local Task Force?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Sign.
And Culleton, okay. On-site Ad Hoc Committee is currently Bolin and Crowder.
Sure.
Sure?
For whatever.
Yes, both of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we met him.
Okay, the Finance Committee is the mayor and the vice mayor, so that would be Vice Mayor Bolin and Mayor Lassonde. Butte County Oversight Board, Mayor Lassonde, you're on that one. Would you like to remain on that one? Sure. Okay. They are meeting January 10th of this year.
Yeah, I got the email from them.
The Paradise Sewer Regional Project Advisory Committee is currently Councilmember Crowder and Councilmember Tryon. Would you both like to remain on that?
Sure.
Okay. Tryon. The Legislative Ad Hoc Committee is generally the mayor and the vice mayor.
I would actually like to stay on this committee.
The legislature one?
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
And I'd like to be on that too.
Okay. Crowder and Tryon, please.
Okay, so Councilmember Crowder and Councilmember Tryon. Okay, and then the Healthcare Committee is Councilmember Crowder and Councilmember Lassonde. Would you like to stay on those?
I'll stay on it unless somebody desperately wants to be on that one.
Okay, so Councilmember Crowder and Lassonde. All right, I will get the committee, the representative sheet done tomorrow and email that out to everybody to make sure I have the correct assignments. Thank you for that.
You expressed an interest in sewer, did you want that?
Did I miss?
No, I'm talking about,
Oh,
Lon, you expressed an interest.
No, I'm fine with the numbers that I have, and I trust you guys on that, absolutely. I think it's on track from what I've seen, and I think you guys have done a fantastic job to date, so I'm good with the assignments as they are. Unless you're saying
you want it changed.
All right. That concludes the committee assignments.
Okay, council-initiated items and reports. Council-initiated agenda items. Item 7A, we'll start over with Woody.
Me?
Yes, sir.
What is this?
actually set the fees.
I went to the,
Council-initiated agenda items is 7A. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have town council related items.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
sure.
that. Now it's 7B, correct? Okay, now I can go to Woody.
oh,
So
okay.
you got advance notice.
Huh? Yeah. So, I didn't have any committees that met, but the town festivities on actually it was not a remembrance, it was really about progress, looking forward, moving forward kind of thing. And they had one event at the Paradise Performing Arts Center, which was well attended and it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. And then there was a bunch of events, and I thought that was I thought we really did a good job on doing that. And I probably went to some other things, but in my age, I don't always remember. I guess I should write them down. That might help. That's it.
Okay. Councilmember Tran?
Yeah, I went to all my committee assignments, and I went to, it was Parks and Recs for Paint and Sip, and the Remembrance event and committee assignments.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Attended my stuff, and there really was nothing to report, so.
Councilmember Powell?
So well, I had a few things here. There was this second time that Rotary and Paradise School District kind of combined and had a career day. This one was probably better attended than the first one. There were about 100 vendors there, and then they had a job fair after. The town had our PD, CAL FIRE, and building department each had a booth there, and our PD was very popular with our police dog Titan. He was kind of the hit. CAL FIRE had their toys, and building had a good showing too, even though I did tell Tony that it was tough to compete with the dog and the fire department's toys, but they did a good job. Went to several ribbon cuttings. We had another healthcare meeting with Adventist Health. I think it was a good meeting. Nothing was done, but there were some other avenues that will be looked at, and hopefully we'll get something good coming out of that. So I attended the Butte County Wildfire Safety Summit, which was good. A lot of good information, a lot of information on what was done and what's going on in the future. It was very well attended. Chamber installation dinner was nice. It highlighted a lot of our businesses and gave out awards there, so it was nice to see. New officer swearing, which is always great to attend and see the interest that people have in our town. This morning I went to Rebuild Paradise function. They got a grant from T-Mobile for $50,000, and what they've done is they've done tiles that have all kids' handprints in it, and it's going to commemorate the campfire, and this wall will be built in Billy Park, and these tiles will go into the wall, so it was kind of neat to see. So that was mine.
Thank you. Yeah, I met with Mark Maddox on the 16th of November, spent some time with him to understand what goes on in there, and he took me on the tour of his facilities, and I was super impressed with what Circlewood looks like, and I'm using that as an example of the future of Paradise. It's all paved, all the telephone poles are gone, and there's a lot of houses built, so it gives you a real sense of community down there. And I tell folks, just wait a few more years, the rest of the town's going to look like what Circle looks like today, if not even better, because with more houses coming in. I too also attended the career day, and again, Susan and Tony did a fantastic job entertaining the kids. There were some questions that were asked. It was interesting to hear the types of questions they asked. A lot of it, of course, Tony had to prompt it, or Susan had to prompt them to ask the questions, but it was well received. I was at the healthcare committee meeting, and what I enjoyed about that was a tour of the clinic. I had no idea it was 3 stories. I had no idea I've only been on the first floor to the lab, and in the 6 years I've been here, I've never gone beyond that, and it was just, I was impressed by it. And they explained some of the additional things. They in fact have hired a net of 9 physicians. They said they were going to get for 10. They actually exceeded that. They hired 11, but they had 2 retirees. And if you remember earlier in this year when Adventist Health came out and talked to the town at the Elks Club, they said that they were going to hire 10, and so they're right on track for that. So that was good to know about that. I did attend a Paradise Symphony Orchestra Christmas concert. Was asked a number of questions there by folks about what's going on with the town, so I try to explain some of the things like you read from your year in recap and all that. They want to know the numbers and such. I too also attended the Chamber of Commerce Awards dinner, went to the BCAG and Air Quality Management meeting, and also to Officer Horry, or however he pronounced it, and I've forgotten it, swearing in. It was good. They have a full staff. They haven't gotten the overhire. They're still working on that, and I applaud the chief and all the efforts he's doing to staff up his folks to make sure that we have the right number of officers for our town, and that's really good to hear that. And that was mine. That was it. So, move on to staff communications, item 8A, town manager report.
I have no additional report, Mr. Mayor, but I believe Susan has a community development update for us.
I was in the meeting on
I try. Good evening, council. So just an update since we spoke last month about some projects that we're working on in community development. We just issued the permit to St. Thomas More to rebuild their about 9,500 square foot parish hall. So you might have seen on the west side some framing going for their foundation. We just issued a temporary C of O for phase 2 of the Paradise Boutique Apartments out by the hospital. So that put another 57 multifamily units on the market. And then Foothill Lumber, they've submitted to rebuild their warehouse building there in the corner of Wagstaff and Pence. And then we've received some applications to rebuild 132 mini storage units on a complex that had 275. So some of them are standing, so they're rebuilding the burned ones, and that's off of Knopfsinger on Lower Clark. And then recently we started to be able to take electronic submittals for residential rooftop solars. You go through a pre-approval process with a third-party vendor, and that puts us in compliance with Senate Bill 379. It's something that got pushed out of the Energy Commission about making residential rooftop solars electronic submittals. So we're there now. Next week, we do have a planning commission meeting. We're going to be hearing a use permit for the 72 units of multifamily housing across from the post office on Clark Road, as well as a use permit for Paradise Palladium in the Holiday Shopping Center in the corner where the insurance company used to be. So Tony and I just met with them earlier today to get them on the route to get the infill stuff done. So she's really hopeful she can have doors open by end of month. So that's what we'll be hearing next week.
I have a question. For the solar rooftops, we had an extension on that for houses that were rebuilding.
The state waived it for the last 3-year code cycle, but the one that started this year, it was no longer waived, so.
Regardless of whether they lost their house.
Exactly, so in the previous 3 years, you only had to put back as much solar as the original house required, so for most of them it was none, but a couple had to do at least solar ready. Okay. But now everybody's doing it, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Before you go, Susan?
Yes, sir.
I want to, like you and the town manager and all the people that, you've been working at the town since you were 18 years old. And, I'm not going to say how you are now because I don't know, but 3
years ago.
But you've worked your way through up in the organization. And the job you do at community development, it's a massive job. And like, because you also oversee like this whole thing with solid waste and this thing coming to 1383, which is so complex and convoluted. You have done a superb job. I know how complex it is, and you've just done fantastic, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you, Woody.
And everybody else have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can adjourn this meeting, and it's a